back. This is a Middle Perch live on the internet. I am MTK on the MIC. This is a new track made by me. It's called Cabbage, and it's up on the net. Using an app for the Android phone. Called Music Maker Jam. It's a lot of fun. And today we're going to be doing Conciliates Chapter 6, which I'm really excited about, because it's about the mind. Very excited. Yeah, I'm kind of pleased about this track. It came out nice. And all of these you can find on my YouTube. They're usually ones where it's a selfie of me. I try to make the video avatar, thumbnail is usually just a selfie of me for the songs, the little songs that I'm making for the sake of having background music here on the program. You can listen to all of them. They're all on a playlist called Trax 2019, I believe. That has everything. But there's also a down-tempo tracks, which stuff like this goes on. Anything under 100 BPM, because that's my preferred sort of range, you know? Like, I prefer, like, I like when stuff's, you know, real, I like stuff like this. track is called Gloarm with about 4 M's, but actually that's the music track for the hit single. With the lyrics and so on. Let's hear it with the lyrics. You want to? Same track. I liked this so much that I made it into this. Well, now you've heard the whole track for 4 minutes, but imagine you just heard the beginning of this. This mic doesn't pick up some of the nice sound effects. You can listen to this on the Never Say a Word hit single. Elections are fixed. The wars are endless. The surveillance don't you never say a word. You never said a word. You never said a word. It's all going to shit now. And you never say a word. Yeah, so that's a cool tune, right? That would be like a music video right there. Oh, that shouldn't be on. How's that happen? Yeah, that shouldn't be on. I don't know why that's suddenly came on. I love VGI, but it should be on only my tracks because we don't want. Let's see. How about? Oh, Drangundo is nice as a little filler. So all these are filler tracks. so that the show doesn't get boring, like it's just done for the first 10 minutes. And the other reason is not so much filler, but I don't like dry. If you haven't tuned in before, one of the things is I don't like dry. I don't like to talk just dry. I feel like it's tedious and unrhythmic and kind of like not as pleasant for the listener, etc. But these tracks are all just made with that German app, Music Maker Jam. And I didn't even pay for any of these little modules that I'm just selecting to make the composites with. If I wanted to invest in it, I could really do that, but for our purposes here, it's just so the music for the show isn't crappy and I don't have copyright issues with anyone, because I'm very annoyed at the copyright claims. This should be the very definition of DMCA context. We talked all about this during the Anticlimactic Non-Show. If you want to look that up, you should. The DMCA rules and why the DMCA needs to be repealed, and if they want to rewrite it, then we should modernize it for the contemporary status. The digital generation in the post-mobile world needs a much different thing than this dumb, stupid deal. And Article 13 in Europe is I don't even know how to think about that. So, toward net neutrality and freedom, you should check out that episode of Anticlimactic Non-Show. The Anticlimactic Non-Show was 20 episodes in, there you can see the signage for it. 20 episodes in December, Anticlimactic Non-Show, and there's one on the DMCA. It's a Friday. I think we had a DJ in here. Oh, this is a nice shot of the new building. I don't even like saying it, but I don't even like, my opinion of it is so bad. But I'm going to add that first track, not the video for You Never Say a Word, the hit single. The hit single, You Never Say a Word, which now is a video that you just saw. I'll cut that out. It's a shame the audio track to that is so bad. See, the thing about doing a live program without any support or without being able to edit the live capture, unless there is saving elements, like I'm not able to cut it into chunks, right? Is my performance has to be aware of that, which affects how just talking directly and being live is. It's not ever going to be like that, is it? The whole question of being real versus doing a show is what we're talking about. The Anticlimactic Non-Show was a non-show, and a Middle Perch is a show, right? A Middle Perch is a live show. It's a live stream. And it happens whenever I happen to turn it on. And they're numbered. And after 2.0, this mic. So this mic became dominating because it's great. It's nice to have at least the audio track be like a radio show. Because then you can just not even you don't need to look at the screen for most of this program. It's mostly long form readings and chat. Radio. It's like radio. I did radio, so it's like a radio. There's a nice frog. Hope to see some frogs this spring. Tadpoles actually first, as you probably know. The new track is how this show started, and the autoplay mixer sent it to the lyricless version of You Never Say a Word, which is called Gloarm. That should be up too, I think. Maybe not. And then in listening to that, we ended up having to play the one with the lyrics. And so every time I play the one with the lyrics in front of the camera, I may as well mouth it and do a video, if you will. may as well to express my thoughts when I wrote the lyrics. I think they have multiple contexts. The goal was for that to have multiple contexts. Even though there's a very specific chorus. That's how we began today. And we're going to start a chapter today of Consilience that I have been waiting to get to. We're reading Consilience, The Unity of Knowledge by E.O. Wilson, Edward O. Wilson. This was written in 1997, published in 1998, and it's a summative type of book. Professor Wilson was trying to write a summative look, at the end of the century, the end of the millennium, so-called. There was a lot of this kind of publishing going on in New York City, where I was living and working in the industry of publishing and education and academics and art. I was a New Yorker, shall we say. And at that time, one of the books was Edward O. Wilson's Consilience, The Unity of Knowledge, within which there's so many large ideas that he brings together as a kind of century, millennium is ending. Let's have a quick discussion about what we know to be true, if you will, about science. And so when this all began, I thought, you know what? I'm so tired of people telling me that the earth is flat and absurdities that to combat that type of disinformation, we decided to start reading Consilience. It would be a nice baseline. It's 21 years old now, right? This book is. So a lot of the science in it has been updated, but at least we can accept this as a baseline is part of what the argument is. So there have been a few people, I think 17 people have gotten about to chapter 4, and this is going to be chapter 6, and it's the one I'm really excited about, which is the mind. It's about the mind, written in 1998. Now, mind science, if you will, has changed a great deal in the last 21 years, but the baselines here, I'll try to avoid editorializing that, the anachronistic elements. I keep stopping and going, this may have changed, of course, but that's because I don't want people to think that this is the contemporary state. If there are scientists in the field and they're like, what do you mean, dude, that's 21 years old? The points he's making are making a larger point, which is about consilience, about the idea of jumping together fields in order to make people richer and more sensitive. That was my interpretation, is my interpretation. So I'm a non-academic. If anybody wants to hire me to teach a class, I'd be happy to do that, by the way. But we need to talk about the terms, because I'm quite picky about both how many students, what type of students must be, etc. I'm not going to put a bunch of energy into a bunch of morons. And I'm not teaching someone else's syllabus. That's not happening. So those things, if you want to hire me as a lecturer or professor. Returning to the point, I am, as a professor, reading this. I'm reading Professor Edward O. Wilson's work. And today we're going to start the mind. We'll do that in a little bit. Let's continue listening to music and get fully organized.
World 7 times, I drop dimes, I write rhymes, I never do cry. Did you see me? pen's mimes. When I was a kid, I made chimes. Cut them in half for an octave, fifth for a third. Pythagorean, you heard? Yeah, all the time.
Pythagorean, you heard? Okay, so this is kind of funny, and I wanted to get it down because before I started streaming here, because you remember we've talked about how YouTube is beginning this live streaming world, and by being alpha beta, I mean being Google, it has instantly dominant reach, right? And so a person like myself, pirate radio person who's attempting to free all of the spectrum for the people, has to occupy it in a different way. But I've also, of course, along the way, many of us have all used Ustream or iVlog or JTV or Twitch, which it became, or and that's explosive for a certain type of streaming, you know what I mean? Or Vaughn Live, or umpteen versions that we've all used and played with and have had varying levels of success in advance of YouTube dropping what is its attempt to be the definitive, if you will, in this world, right? And before I started doing this here, I practiced, if you will, on iVlog, because I wanted to at least be this level of professional. Even if I do want to not be like what the deal is, right? So one of the things was that we were playing the NaNoWriMo, the November novel writing month. If you're not familiar with it, the idea is to, get the creative juices going. You write a novel in the month of November. And it did work. Every time I've tried it, I didn't ever finish a novel, but something good came out of it. A short story, for example, this time that I submitted to a contest, right? Or whatever. It made me think about a bunch of different things. It also made me bring out the typewriter because I wanted to try to write on the typewriter again, just to keep the chops up. A lot of what this is keeping my radio chops up, right? I want to stay being able to be on the radio in case I need to do it. But so typewriter came out of it, etc. But while I had the typewriter out, I live streamed to iVlog, and the viewers, I asked them to give me ideas to write the novel, right? So the whole thing was going to be, I was going to transmute ideas that came from viewers into a novel. And the feedback was crazy. Like, there were people who were like, enthusiastic about the notion of literature being transmitted this way. There were people who were like, for them, I was older and more experienced, and so they were younger and like, wow, this is interesting, because I was telling them stuff about the publishing industry or whatever, and about writing, and about how the differences between writing on a typewriter and the differences between writing on a computer. So there were some interested folks like that, but there were some haters, and the haters were just so direct. One of the first ones, the dude goes, oh, I've seen this before. I was like, what? You seen what before? I didn't even say that, but someone else was like, what do you mean? And he's like, dude, someone's already done this, written a novel using it. You're right, basically like describing what I thought was just a very loose context. I'm going to turn on the live stream and I'm going to ask for ideas and we're going to write it together for a month. And this guy made it sound like it was a program. And I realized, dude, this is not a program. This is just a guy in a room. But I ended that because it was pointless and also was interfering with the writing, right? But so what ends up happening is I have these, as they were giving them to me, I was writing them down, the ideas from the people on iVlog. So these are not my ideas, but their ideas, okay? So this one is incredible, and it got really developed. And so I just want to share it here so we have it on the record, right? And plus it'll take us to the half hour, which is our goal, generally speaking, with the show, and then I can record the consilience as a separate chunk or whatever. Okay, so this guy says, here's what the novel should be about. It should be about a jazz piano player in Paris after World War II. He's a U.S. AWOL soldier who plays piano, and he can't go back to the States. He meets up with other expats and forms a band. This is in Paris after World War II. He has a French drummer named Alain Longer. The piano player's name is Tommy Bunker. The bass player's name is Clément, but it turns out he's a German, was with the Nazis, and is hiding in Paris using his French and denying being German. He's the bass player. The trumpet player is a guy with shell shock, PTSD, named Richie Hartford. The saxophonist is a black saxophonist named Howard Cheeks Washington, who doesn't want to go back to the States because he feels better treated in Europe. Okay, these are the characters, which is just, they would pop stuff out and I would help them develop it, basically, right? So this is fleshed out, working with them, and also just having to endure negativity and haters. But we got this far, which was cool, right? So this guy, you see the characters and how they're occupying this position in Paris, and they're in a loosely organized club that's a music group. They're a band, and a band is always full of like egos who are just, they have to be in it. If I'm a drummer, I need a singer. If I'm a singer, I need a piano player, whatever, So the piano player, Tommy Bunker, and his, I guess it's a quintet, with Alain Longer, Clément, Richie Hartford, and Howard Cheeks Washington in Paris after the war. We had there's backstory for each of the characters, but I'm not sure we should do that yet because I think we had some plot even. There was some plot in this thing. So I was writing everybody's ideas on each day. This guy wanted to do a sci-fi. Okay, well, no, I don't have to find the remainder of those notes, but that is a rich context. No? And the guy who submitted the vast majority of that context, his handle was Senor Blues on iVlog, but I warn you, he's an older guy and he sounds a little cranky. He was cranky with me. But October 19, 1207 was the first entry I have on this thing. And it is collaboratively, I would say this is a collaboratively written context. And as I say, we have fleshed out backstory here on each of the characters. And if any of you wanted to pick this up, I'm down. Like I'm totally. It's fun for me to help people write things. I can tell you a great story that'll take us to the 30-minute mark. In Brooklyn in '99, I needed a job. I had left the university. I was working only in publishing as a by-the-hour guy, and in the art studio. So all the money I was making, I was putting into rent and art. So secondary job was teaching writing over in Flatbush, Brooklyn College. No, I forget the college. Anyway, to an elderly man who was disabled because he had very bad vision, but he had spectacular ideas about things he wanted to write, and he would pay me, good money to help him. I hope I helped him. I think I helped him. Anyway, a lot of that was just formalizing the material into, readable material. And so I thought, as this was happening, it reminded me of that, And that is something we could completely do on a Middle Perch Live. We could sit and write a novel together. And a way to begin would be, if you are someone who saw this or watched this, use the comments below. Don't IM me. I mean, it's cool. Subscribe, please subscribe. Check out stuff. Absolutely. But the point of all these videos is to use the comments and likes and etc. and to forward them to people so that anybody who wants to participate, they can participate. You know what I'm saying? And you can start threads below anything. That's why I was thinking what happened with consilience, to be honest, is that even the highest scientist working in any of those fields who can say, oh, poo-poo, this is 21 years old, could at least update it with a comment that would make it, yes, what Professor Wilson says here is interesting, but it turns out he was wrong. This is how it is. Or, wow, fantastic how this is right in line with where we are in our field now, or blah, 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 right?
Really wrong. You're just going along for your own good. No, not really wrong. You're just going along for your own good.
Another interesting lyric, I thought.
No, you're not really wrong. You're just going along, just going for your own good.
Again, multiple meanings.
No, you're not really wrong. You're just going along for your own good.
You know, and all my stuff is common, what do you call it? Common, commons. It's in the Creative Commons. I'd be flattered if you made a version of that, or any of the stuff that I'm throwing up. That's just me using the phone and singing the lyric once into a mic on my phone, you know. I think it's got a killer anti-capitalist angle that's not too hard, and also has a kind of real social angle if you get deeper. The deeper you go into it, the closer you get to the question of what I mean, and I mean all of it, to everybody at every level. That's number one. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recorded it like that. But that's why there's the multiple voicing thing, too, the idea of it being all the different ways. So how you hear it is the most important, I would say. That's as much as I'm going to say about that. But there's a lot of analysis behind the production of a little simple 2-minute expression like that, I would add. And if you're a producer of music, feel free to bite that and use it, because I think it's one of those fascinating mind, like a koan, you know? And I'm the author of that koan, and you can trust me. That's where it all comes down to. People are afraid to trust me. And that cannot be, not if we're going to proceed like this. Big institutions, thank you for being kind enough to trust me. That's helpful. And the academy, so many universities have to thank in that. Okay, we crossed the 30-minute mark. We got down the piece about the writing the novel collaboratively. I'm going to cut that out. We made the video for You Never Say a Word, and we're going to do Consilience as a separate track. Chapter 6, The Mind. The Mind. Chapter 6, The Mind. Chapter 6, The Mind. Chapter Mind. Chapter 6, The Mind.